enter the webinar. So we'll get started. So that you're all aware, we will be recording this presentation and later this week we'll upload the recording to our event page so you can watch it back if you wish to. Please keep your microphones muted and your cameras off. The presentation will last for about 25 minutes. If you think of a question, post it in the Q&A box and we'll have plenty of time at the end to answer them. If you have any technical issues during the presentation, let us know in the chat box and my colleague Rose will try to help. Okay, so my name is Lucy and I work in the International Student Advice team at the University of Exeter. Our team are all trained immigration advisors. We provide students with expert visa and immigration advice before they arrive, during their studies, and as they graduate from the University of Exeter. This presentation has specifically been designed for students planning to study at the University of Exeter, who will be applying for a student visa from outside the UK. If this is not your situation, or you are unsure if this presentation is the right one for you, please message us in the chat box and my colleague Rose will guide you. Whether you're a new student to the University of Exeter or returning to your studies as a continuing student, our team are here to help and support you through the process. So today I'll give you an overview of when and how to apply for your student visa. We'll look in detail at what you need to prepare for your visa application and what to expect after you've applied. Throughout the presentation, my colleague Rose will post relevant links in the chat box for further information. Then to test you haven't fallen asleep, I've prepared some quiz questions. And finally, to end our presentation, I'll let you know what you need to do if you need help. We'll have plenty of time for questions, which you can post in the Q&A box. Let's start with an overview of the visa application process to give you an idea of when you need to prepare things to start your studies on time. You start by preparing your supporting documents and application form. The earliest you can apply for a student visa is 6 months before your course starts, but in reality, most students apply 1 to 3 months before their studies start. This is because you need to meet several requirements before you submit your student visa application. We'll talk more about these requirements later in the presentation. Once you've prepared and submitted your application, the standard processing time is 3 weeks. This starts from the date you attend your biometrics appointment. You can pay for priority or super priority service for a quicker decision depending on availability in your country. For degree programs, the earliest you can travel to the UK is 1 month before your course start date. So that's the plan. Now let's look at this in more detail. Here's how to apply. The first step is to prepare your documents and the visa application form. Then, once you are ready, submit your application by making the necessary payments. You'll be instructed to upload scans of your supporting documents. Most students will need to go to a visa application centre to submit their biometrics. That's fingerprints and a digital photograph. If you use an app at the beginning of your application, you won't need to attend a biometric appointment. At the moment, though, this only applies to EU, EEA, and Swiss students. Next, some students will be asked to attend a credibility interview. And finally, once a decision has been made on your visa application, you may be asked to collect your passport from the visa application centre, or it will be posted back to you, if that's an option in your country. If you weren't required to attend a biometric appointment, you may be granted an e-visa directly, and then you can travel from the start date of the e-visa. For all students applying for a student visa, it's really important that you read the instructions you're sent at each stage, because you will receive slightly different instructions depending on where you are living and your nationality. Okay, we're going to look at each of these sections in even more detail. Starting with preparing your documents. There are 2 main things you will all need to have before you can apply for your visa: CAS and money. None of you need to submit qualifications with your visa application, and I'll explain why later. Let's look at CAS timeframes. The process starts once you've met all the conditions of your university offer. This means that you have met the academic and English qualifications required for your programme. For master's students, you also need to pay the required tuition fee deposit. Some students will also be required to attend a pre-CAS interview. Once you've met all of your conditions, you will receive your unconditional offer. Your unconditional offer is automatically picked up by the CAS team, who will send you a CAS contract and data check email within a few days. You need to read through this email carefully and follow the instructions. You're checking that all the information the university has about you is correct. If there are any errors, this is your chance to correct them. This information is being sent to UK Visas and Immigration in support of your visa application, so it's really important that it is all correct and up to date. After you complete and submit your CAS data check, the team will send you a CAS statement within 5 working days. The CAS statement contains details of your study that you need to include in your student visa application form. You don't need to request your CAS number. The process will start automatically. We'll put a link in the chat to all the frequently asked questions we receive about CAS. We'll keep the page updated throughout the summer if there are any changes. Next, money. Another requirement for a student visa is that you have enough money to support yourself while you're studying in the UK. This is in addition to the cost of applying for the student visa. The total amount of money you need to have depends on your tuition fee amount, the length of your course, and any payments you have made to the university. To calculate your individual total, take your tuition fees from your offer letter and add your living expenses. These are set at a minimum of £1,136 per month for the length of your course up to 9 months. So for students coming to Exeter for a degree, this will be £10,224. Then you can deduct or take away any money you have already paid towards tuition fees. For example, if you are a master's student, you will have paid a deposit. You can also deduct any scholarship awards that you have received from the university. And finally, you can deduct up to £1,483 for any accommodation fees you have paid to the university. All 3 of these deductions should be listed in your CAS statement if you have paid them. If you've paid more than £1,483 towards university accommodation, you cannot deduct extra from your calculations. You also cannot deduct money you have paid towards private accommodation. You will need to calculate your own total amount. This total amount is the amount of money UK Visas and Immigration expect you to have so that your visa application is successful. Now you know how much money you need to have, but how do you prove that you have this? Listen carefully here because it's the most common reason for a visa refusal. Most students will use a bank statement or letter from the bank. The money must be in cash funds that you can immediately access in an account like a current or savings account. It cannot be held in a business account. The account should be in your name or your parents' names. It cannot be in a friend's account or another relative's account, unless they are your legal guardian. Money can be in a joint account as long as you are one of the account holders. You must have the money in the account for at least 28 days before you submit your student visa application. You can use your bank account during the 28 days, but the balance must not fall below the required amount. Your bank document must show the balance throughout the whole 28-day period, and the statement itself cannot be older than 1 month. The money should remain in your account until you have received a decision on your visa application. If you are using documents in your parents' names, you will also need a permission letter from them and proof of your relationship, such as a birth certificate. Another way to evidence your money is through official financial sponsorship. This can be from a government, an international company, the university, or another scholarship provider. If you are fully sponsored by the University of Exeter with a studentship, this will be listed on your CAS statement and you will not need a scholarship letter. But for everyone else who is receiving a scholarship, you will need a letter from your sponsor. This letter should be dated and printed on official letter-headed paper, include the name and contact details of the sponsor, show your name and confirm the duration of the sponsorship, confirm the amount of money provided, or state that the sponsor will cover all tuition fees and living costs for the programme, if specified. If your official sponsor pays for any part of your costs, you must supplement your sponsor letter with a bank statement. You can therefore use a combination of ways to show you have the full amount available to you. And finally, if you're relying on a student loan, you will need a student loan letter. This should come from your national, state, or regional government, or from a government-sponsored student loan company. Links in the chat to the money section of our website for details and examples of what these different documents can look like. Perhaps some of you are thinking, wait a minute, I don't need to send bank statements with my visa application. You're half right. Some students will qualify for differentiation arrangements. This means they don't need to submit evidence of their money with their student visa application. So who qualifies for differentiation arrangements? You qualify if you are a national of one of the countries listed in paragraph 22.1 of the immigration rules, and you are applying in the country where you live or the UK. We'll post a link in the chat box for you to check the list to see if you qualify. If your nationality is listed, it means you don't need to submit evidence that you meet the money requirement, but you must still have the money ready in the way I described in the previous slides. UK Visas and Immigration can request to see your financial documents at any time during the application process. Qualifications. As I mentioned earlier, you do not need to submit qualifications with your visa application. This is because the University of Exeter is a higher education institution with a track record of compliance. Some students may find that on their documents list at the end of the application form, it asks for qualifications. This is an error. You definitely don't need to submit them. You will need to tick the box on the form to be allowed to continue, but you definitely don't need to provide them. Okay, so those are the main documents, but there are a few others that you may need to submit as well, depending on your individual circumstances. If you are a person from a country listed in Appendix T of the immigration rules, and you are applying for a visa from outside the UK to study for more than 6 months, you'll need a valid medical certificate confirming you have been tested for TB. You won't need a TB certificate if you have lived for at least 6 months in a country where TB screening is not required by the UK, and you left that country less than 6 months ago. Check the link listed in the chat for more details. Another document is an ATAS certificate. Students who are planning to study at master's or PhD level within certain subject areas must obtain clearance certificates under the Academic Technology Approval Scheme, ATAS, before they make any student visa application to study in the UK. The subject areas include computer science, physics, biosciences, and engineering. If your program requires ATAS clearance, this will be a condition on your university offer. Some nationalities are exempt from the ATAS requirement, and you will not need clearance, even if you are studying one of those programs. The processing time for ATAS clearance applications is 6 weeks during busy periods, particularly during the summer. If you need an ATAS certificate, you should apply at least 8 weeks before you hope to apply for your visa to ensure that you can receive your unconditional offer and your CAS in plenty of time. We have lots of information on our website about ATAS, including answers to frequently asked questions and an application form guide. Under 18s. If you are 16 or 17 when you apply for your visa, you will need to include a signed letter from your parents or legal guardian confirming the relationship between you and that you have their permission to apply for a visa and to travel to the UK. You can find full details of what needs to be covered in the letter on our website. And finally, translations. If any of your documents are not in English, you will need to provide a fully certified translation by a professional translator or translation company. Full details about these documents can be found on our document checklist. To help you prepare your application, we recommend you use our application form guide to set up and fill in your application form. The guide will help you to answer the questions on the form, but you also need your CAS statement to refer to. EU, EEA and Swiss students will be directed to use the UK Immigration ID Check app to scan their identity document at the start of the application. You'll be able to use the app if your passport has a biometric chip and you have a compatible phone that has NFC technology. We'll post a link in the chat with more detail. Most students will apply for their visas in their country of nationality, but if you are living in another country and are considered resident there, you should be able to submit your application from there instead. Okay, let's summarize the documents. Everyone will need to fill in an online application form and have a passport and CAS number. Everyone will also need to prepare their money. Remember, you do not need to provide evidence of your qualifications with your application if you are studying at undergraduate or postgraduate level at the University of Exeter. Then, depending on your individual situation, you may need to submit other documents, such as evidence of money. If you're using bank statements in your parents' name, you will need a permission letter from them and proof of your relationship, like a birth certificate. If any of the documents are not in English, you'll need official translations. Depending on where you have been living in the last 6 months, you may need a TB certificate. Depending on your nationality, subject area, and course level, you may need an ATAS certificate. If you're under 18, you will need a permission letter from your parents or legal guardian. Okay, we've covered preparing your documents and application form. Now let's continue the process and look at the next step. These are the payments that you'll need to make when you submit your student visa. The immigration health surcharge is £776 per year of your visa. This means the amount you are charged depends on the total length of your visa. For example, if your Exeter degree is 3 years long, the length of your visa will be 3 years and 4 months. This means you'll need to pay for 3.5 years worth of IHS, which is £2,716. The next payment is the visa application fee. This is £524. Then there may be additional charges for a biometric appointment, depending on when and where you book this. Lastly, there are additional charges for a faster service if you want your visa application to be processed quicker. Okay, I've given you lots of information, so let's test your understanding before we continue. Don't worry if you get it wrong, there are no prizes, it's just to check your understanding. So Rose, if you could please launch the quiz, then the questions will appear for all students. Thank you. So the first one is, when should I submit my visa applications? And your options are as soon as possible, when I meet all the visa requirements, or September. Great, thank you. Looks like everyone's having a go at those. you for having a go at those. These questions really are designed to just test your understanding, which will be helpful for you when you are submitting application. Right, so the first question, when should I submit my application? So 8 students attempted the question, and yeah, that you got that correct. Yeah, absolutely, when you meet all the requirements. Let's see. So, question 2, if I'm going to study a 3-year degree, how much is the immigration health surcharge? Okay, yes, and remember this costs £776 per year. Okay, so we have a mixed answer on this. 4 students answered 2716, and 3 students answered 2328. So the correct answer is 2716, which 4 students got right, so well done. So basically you need to remember that you are taking the yearly amount and you're going to apply that to the length of your visa. So if you're going to study a 3-year degree, your visa isn't actually going to be exactly 3 years. It's actually going to be 3 years and 4 months, which means that UKVI would automatically charge you for 3.5 years. Okay, and then that last question was, my tuition fees are 23,000. I haven't paid any tuition fees, but I have paid £5,000 towards private accommodation. How much do I need to have in the bank? Okay, so this is a really great one for your understanding to work out how you're going to calculate your total amount for the financial requirement. Looks like 5 students answered 23,000. And then we had 1 student that answered 28,224. So not everyone attempted this question, and that's okay because I appreciate it takes a little bit of time to think about it. So actually, no one got this right. So the correct answer was 33,224. So remember, to work out your financial requirement amount, you've not only got to have your tuition fees, you've also got to have the amount for your living expenses, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. So if you're studying for a degree program, you need to have an additional 10,224. So you'll be taking your tuition fees, adding that amount, and then there are ways that you can make some deductions. But deductions cannot be made for private accommodation. So this student in the question says that they've paid £5,000 towards private, but none of that could be deducted from that final amount to meet their financial requirement. So I hope that makes sense. And of course, you will be able to go back to the recording to have a look through on the details of the financial requirement, and also on our money page. It is a very important part of the application, and you've got to get the number exactly right. So thanks for having a go at that. I'm just going to end the poll. I can share results. I have basically just talked about that. Yeah, there we go. And then I'll stop showing that bit. Okay. Right. Rose, is that still showing the slides?
Yeah, we can still see as we could before. All good.
Excellent. Thank you. My views just changed a little bit. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so right, I'm going to get all of these requirements, 2716, and yeah, that was the amount. Okay, let's continue the application journey. After the payments, you'll be asked to upload scans of your supporting documents. Then most students will be directed to book an appointment to submit their biometrics. That's to submit your fingerprints and a digital photograph is taken. In some countries, you'll be instructed to leave your passport at the visa application centre at the same time. In other countries, you'll be given instructions to post your passport. EU, EEA and Swiss students who use the app at the beginning of the application and therefore scanned their passport won't need to do this step. But if you're an EU, EEA or Swiss student who couldn't use the app, you'll be instructed to book a biometrics appointment and submit your passport. The visa application centres are run by VFS Global and TLS Contact, who are commercial companies acting on behalf of UK Visas and Immigration. It can get very busy during the summer months, and unfortunately, we don't have any power to influence appointment availability at these centres. Read through the instructions and emails you receive at each stage of the visa application process. These will guide you through the situation as it is in your country. Some students may be asked to attend a short credibility interview. This will take place via video conferencing and will ask you details about Exeter, your programme, and your reasons for studying in the UK. If you are invited to an interview, don't panic, but we recommend you prepare for it and practice talking through your answers. The final step, let's look at what happens after you've applied for your visa application. As you're outside the UK, you will need to wait to receive your visa before travelling to the UK. Once your application is complete, UK Visas and Immigration will email you with a decision and instructions on what to do next. Make sure you read through this information carefully and keep your decision, email or letter in a safe place. Some students will receive a 90-day entry visa in their passport. In this situation, you can travel to the UK from the start date of this visa. Alongside your 90-day entry visa, you'll be instructed on how to access your e-visa. Some students will be given an e-visa from the start without an entry visa. An e-visa is an online visa which you will receive access to via email. You will not receive a physical document. Some students in this situation must travel after the start date listed on their e-visa. When you enter the UK, you will need to go through border control and will either need to speak to an officer if your nationality permits. You can go through the e-gates. Great, that's everything I wanted to talk through with you today. But if you get stuck, we're here to help throughout the summer. If you can't remember everything we talked about today, you can watch a recording of this webinar, or you can read the information on our web pages. This is the QR code to our page if you're interested. During the summer, we have online drop-ins on Zoom that you can come along to and see us, or you can email us as well. I hope you have found this presentation helpful. I will stop sharing my screen and have a look at the questions in the Q&A box. So I will just give you one moment just to take note of that email address that we've got there on the screen and then scan that QR code. But yeah, then I will stop sharing so I can have a look at the questions.